Everybody talking about adopt, don't shop, adopt, don't shop. Shut up. Shop, don't adopt. Here's why. Ain't doing this. They ain't showing us part of love with their dogs. They ain't showing this. All right, good morning, good morning. Welcome you guys to Butler Kennel Rockwallers, man, where the best of the best can always be found. If you haven't done so yet, man, please hit the like button, subscribe button, notification bell, all that good stuff, man. If you're watching on Facebook, all that stuff, follow, let's just get it going. Today, I'm not going to really just, I'm driving right now, and I'm reading a lot of messages, right? And I'm getting, I get messages all day. I probably average about 200-300 phone calls a day, right? And it's always a lot going on, and I get it. But I get a lot of messages as well, messages, texts, emails, all these stuff here. And one of the biggest things that the division between breeders and people who want to adopt and people who do shelters and shelters care, I always hear the comment, adopt, don't shop, right? And it's been on my mind for a long time, and on my heart a long time. I want to do a video like this, and I was going to do it sitting down in the office and really all this stuff here, but while it's on my mind, I decided to just give you guys the real, how I feel right now. This is unscripted. I don't have anything written down or nothing else, but this is just how I really feel about it. And I think educating yourself about the situation will make you feel a lot better about it, right? So people normally say, adopt, don't shop. I say, shop, don't adopt. This is the reason why. And I'm gonna lead to every segment, and you gotta follow along with me, all right? You guys know I can go. So check this out. First thing is, how do we get to the point where you have people saying, hey, I want to save lives, and I want to save these dogs' animal lives. So they go to the shelters, and they're like, hey, I'm tired of seeing all these dogs in the shelters, and all these dogs in the shelter, and I just want to save these dogs' lives, and this and that, and everything else, or whatever, right? Granted, heartfelt, I think it's an amazing thing. I think trying to save someone, trying to save an animal that might be put down, or an animal that needs a better care at life. I just think the root of the problem is not the breeder, right? It's not really so much of the breeder itself. The breeder plays a big part in it, but not the breeder itself. So much information I want to get out. So first thing is, you have a person that goes out there to the shelters, and they're like, oh God, you breeders are the problem that giving everyone the issues, and why the shelters are so full of dogs and everything else, and instead of breeding a dog, how about you go and save a dog from out the shelters and all this kind of stuff, instead of adding to the population. One of the biggest comments I hear a lot from activists or people, and I always laugh because I'm like, you don't see my dogs at the shelters and stuff, right? Not dogs like mine. What you see is Jimmy down the street, who in the country or whatever has a Shih Tzu and a Pomeranian, and those two dogs got hooked up. They bred dog puppies. They thought the puppies were gonna be cute. Boom, had some puppies. They don't know how to sell the dogs, can't sell the dogs, don't know what to do. They dump the dogs at they now dump the dogs at the shelters or whatever. Those dogs no one knows anything about the dogs or whatever. Two, you have a client that buys a dog from someone because someone decided to say, hey, I got a Christmas sale, or I have a Thanksgiving sale or a Valentine's Day sale. Come buy my puppies right now. And as a consumer that's not legitimately ready for a dog, they go out there and they buy a dog because it was cheap, or they wasn't prepared for this dog or whatever. And most times they're going to get a cheaper dog. And I'm going to tell you why buying a cheap dog plays a big, huge part into dogs ending up at the shelter. when you have a cheap dog, most times someone's going to sell something really cheap because they didn't invest a lot of time and money into that product, so they're going to sell it for cheap. You have someone who invests a lot of time into their dogs, quality dogs, do their health testings on their dogs, look their dogs, love their dogs, feed their dogs with adequate care, vet bills and everything else, and spend a lot of time and money into their dogs. Those dogs are not going to be the cheapest dogs you're going to find out there. So when they sell those products, that's a quality product. They're not worried about trying to not invest the money into the dogs. They're doing it because of the love of the dogs, plus anybody that understands when you're a breeder or any kind of thing. And I hate when people say, oh, you're just in it for the money. You're just, listen, in order to preserve the quality of top-notch dogs, you want a breeder in the world that preserves the quality of it. The same people that are yelling at, don't breed, are the same people who have these mixed dogs in their houses saying the dog has issues and they gotta care and they pay all these vet bills. But anyway, someone that puts a lot of money into their dogs are not gonna sell their dog for the cheapest or whatever. So a person who buys that dog is gonna save their money, invest their money into buying something that's quality, are not just dropping dogs off at the shelter because they had enough of the dog, or the kids who they bought the dog for Christmas was happy on Christmas Day, but now is no longer energized about this puppy, or no longer excited about that excitement is now gone. So now the parent comes home, the puppy is peeing on the floor. They didn't expect all this. Now they don't want to, just give it to the dog. I only paid $100 for the dog, or $500 for the dog. I don't care. Let the dog go or whatever. Someone who's invested 25, 35, 45, 55, whatever into their dog are not going to say, hey, this dog has peed on the floor and I'm just going to get rid of it because this dog didn't listen. What they're going to do is say, hey, you know what? This is an investment. I'm going to go to a trainer. I'm going to take my time, or either indulge my time into training this dog the right way, because it is an investment. I'm not going to just drop off a puppy at the shelter. So the difference between the two dogs you're going to have is not the dogs that are people paying quality for. Second thing is, that's like someone telling me, when I hear people tell me, says, hey, you're adding to the problems and why not, don't breed, just go to the shelter. That's like me telling someone, don't have a child of your own. How dare you have a child of your own when there's kids for adoption right now that's waiting for homes. I'm very touched for people who adopt kids for the right reasons, and they do this thing because they have a love for it, because everybody plays a part of it. But it is very rude of someone to approach someone else's lifestyle and says, hey, do not have a child because there are kids out there that needs help. So I always say, and don't say, well, I did my part, I adopted 1 or 2 kids. No. Before you open your mouth about somebody with their dogs and telling someone what to do with their life, then you go save every other animal as much as you can when your room is fully packed, and you do that way. But don't push your narrative on someone else. And I hate that. I think the worst thing ever. Now you move forward to say, okay, you know what, Tony? Maybe I can't save every single dog in the world, and I can't do all this stuff, but I'm a very narrative person of this here and all this kind of stuff. Got it. Fine. Now you got to think about the next part. Let's just say you now want to say, hey, adopt, don't shop. Now you are adopting an animal that somebody else had, that I'm just using hypothetically, you know nothing about. Let's say that dog, the dog you got from somebody else, right? Or whatever breeder or whatever person you found on the street got that dog or whatever. That person had that dog. Their child was abusing that dog, or that dog is very skittish because it was abused. And we all know, you see these dogs in the shelters, these dogs are abused, neglected, and everything else. So now that dog personally has been through some kind of trauma. You, as a buyer in the shelter, see a cute little puppy is calmed down. You don't know what that dog's reactions are. You don't know what that dog's temperament is like. You don't know anything about this dog. You're looking at what that dog is seeing in that little cage, and you want to save it, and your heart melts because you don't want that dog in that bad environment at the shelter, which I get 100%. But then to tell somebody else, don't you dare spend money at a breeder who specializes in what he does or she does, goes out there, get a dog. Well, I'm gonna use me as an example. I don't care about other breeders. For me, to come and tell me who specializes in quality dogs, the best dog Rottweilers in the world, and then say, hey, you know what? Do not breed those dogs that's specifically designed for someone who comes to you, but get this dog over here that is not what you want, it's not what you're looking for, but because it's there, because of the conditions of the dog, let's stop there. Follow where I'm going? Now, the problem is, we're not mad at the person who bred those trash dogs or whatever. We're not going after them. We don't care. Because little Shih Tzu dog or whatever Rottweiler mixed dog or whatever the dogs are or whatever, those dogs, we're like, it's the love of the dog. That dog didn't ask to be here. Yes, it didn't ask to be here, but you're going at the wrong person. Now, you get a dog from the shelter. That dog has schizophrenia, or that dog is, let's say for instance, that dog was in the backyard by someone with school, and every time kids came by, kids threw rocks at this dog, right? This dog would get agitated. The person got mad and got rid of the dog. Now that dog has a fear of kids because the kids will always bother this dog. Now, you go to the shelter, you pick up a dog, right? This cute little dog that you think you're just wanting to save or whatever. Now you got this dog in your house with your child, your kid. You don't know what this dog is like. This dog may have a flashback and say, hey, I remember kids doing things at me. Your child goes to touch that dog because they just want to play with it, and that dog snaps. Now you're going to say, oh my God, the dog did. You're going to blame it on something else, and it's something else. The root of the problem is not the breeders. It's not breeders at all. We go there and we have an entire mindset, or people have a whole entire mindset to try to save the dogs in the shelters, which is a great thing, but they go after the wrong people. You telling professional breeders, and then the first thing they like to say is, you're in it for the money, you're doing it for the money. Everybody who has a job has played a part in this life, does something. I'm not breeding dogs for free. I am not your scapegoat of getting free dogs. I invest more money in a month than some people make a year. Okay? So don't tell me about, you're in it only for the money, and this is what you only see the glitz and the glamour. You don't see the building of the cage. You don't see the building of the buildings, the building of the concretes, the this, the that, the dogs, the whelping, the money that goes to feeding them, the taking care of them, the vet bills and everything. I know my vet bill is more than what some people make a year. I know for sure, just the vet bill alone. I know what I spend a month is more than what some people make a year. And not trying to bash anybody or whatever, but I'm just saying, in honesty, before you talk about what somebody else does, and I'm not talking about just only for me, but I'm just saying I've seen this around the world publicly for every breeder out there or whatever. And these activist people, it's like, you shouldn't do this, you shouldn't do that. It's stupid, because no one is getting on the person that doesn't have a platform. The breeder that, not even a breeder, the backyard person who has a dog and just bred their dogs because they want a quick dollar bill, and they sell their dogs, and then once they can't sell, they get rid of it, they dump it, they drop it, and then bam, they do the same thing over and over and over again. But we praise those puppies, but instead of going after them, we want to say it's the breeders in general. Like, no, it's not. And it's the dumbest thing in the world to even assume that, then say, hey, the money issue, and you're only doing it for the money, the dogs and this and that, and the first thing you hear is, you're a backyard breeder, and you're a backyard. It's the stupidest thing in the world. A backyard breeder is not somebody who has a lot of dogs. That's not a backyard breeder can be someone who just has one dog. It doesn't give that dog the proper care, doesn't do the right nutrition on the dog, doesn't do the right health checks on the dogs, doesn't give the dogs the right attention, quality, care, all that kind of stuff. That's a backyard breeder, in my opinion. Or someone who uses their dog to just breed, and all that dog do is just have puppies and have puppies and have puppies, and when they're done with those dogs are shipped out. The mama dog is then given away or ends up at the shelter or whatever. Those are your backyard breeders. Those are the people that you look at And you see that a person can have, like, for example, I can have 100 dogs in my yard. If every 100 of those dogs are being well taken care of, are being well loved, and getting all the attention, getting the nutrients, being loved, not just being pumped out for purposes of just having puppies, but giving the attention and loving care. And then when they are done, let's say some of the females may are done. If anybody knows my dogs, I don't even sell my females. My females, even when they're done, they're retired. They stay at the compound, at the house, at the ranch. They stay there because they're a part of my family. So that's the kind of things you got to look at when you look at a dog and says, hey man, that's someone that cares about their dogs. Now, another thing, I am not, and I repeat, I am not a drop-off dog collection thing or whatever. You cannot come to me. I am not a person that you can just drop your dogs off and like, hey, I've gotten like four messages just in the last 7 days about someone asking me, can you come and take my dog, because this dog that I have now I can't take this dog with me. I gotta go someplace. And not a dog they bought from me, but from somebody else. You invested your money and time with this breeder, and then you can't keep this dog no more, but now you want to drop this dog off to me like I'm supposed to be your caregiver for this dog, and I'm just this drop off. No, I'm not. I am not a shelter. This is not a shelter. I'm not a shelter just taking dogs and out. Go to an adoption place or whatever. Go back to the breeder you bought your dogs from and let that person work something out between y'all two, because it's silly to me, and I'm not jealous or anything else, but I'm just saying, like, it is very silly to me to see somebody spend their money with person over there, person A, go to person A, see their dogs, buy their dogs, spend money, got the dog, and then say, hey, you know, I don't want the dog no more. Let's just dump it on to Tony. Let Tony get this dog or whatever. No, that's not how this works at all. You don't dump a dog onto me. Go with your breeder, find your breeder, and ask about what happens if you can't take care of this dog anymore. What does that breeder have? Is that breeder like, hey man, look at the history of the people with their dogs. Are there a lot of returns? Like, you look at a job, are there a lot of turnovers on the job? They can't keep employees and all. That's the kind of stuff you should really look at when you look at buying a dog from a breeder. Are there a lot of returns? Does he or she has a plan in place that if you cannot take care of this dog, you can find someone to help this dog or help assist you into finding that dog a quality home. That's one of the things, and that's why these people who get these dogs from these other breeders, or not even a breeder, or just from anybody that doesn't have a plan in place, those are the dogs that ends up at the at the shelters as well. Those dogs, because you bought a dog based off of the circumstances, environment, which means the holidays or Christmas or whatever. Now you bought this dog, you put your money into this dog, and now you're coming back now saying, you know what, ain't a good choice, man, let me dump it off somebody else. Like, no, take some time into yourself before you just dump a dog. That's why I tell people, these dogs are going to be there for you their entire life. They're going to spend their entire life for you. Not you, your entire life for them, but their entire life for you. So give them dogs the quality love. And if you know that you can, I'm a breeder and I'm telling you this. If you know for sure you don't have the funds and the time and the means to take care of a dog, I don't care if your son or daughter is crying for a dog and they really, 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 really want a dog or whatever like this there, do not buy that dog. Give them a teddy bear and see how they take care of that teddy bear first. Because stop playing with these little dogs' lives and puppy lives because of your quick emotions of wanting something fun and thinking that it's just going to be a throwaway because you bought a cheap little dog. And to all the breeders out there that's selling these dogs for the quick holiday sales and all stuff, stop doing that as well. One of the biggest issues as well is, the last point I'll make is, you have these shelters. If you go on the news and you look at these shelters, I heard someone says, your dogs are on the concrete. Oh my God, how dear. Where's the dog beds at? And that's why we go to the shelters. And I'm like, my compound, my ranch, My dog kennel is one of the best dog kennels I've seen in the world. My dogs have their own house. They have a play area. They got acres and acres of land. They got a heated and cool building. They have fresh water every day. They got fresh food. Hell, they eat better than most people do. My dogs have given all the love and attention they get. They have everything. And people will still have something to say about that. But you go to a shelter and I look at the news and I saw these shelters that was being shut down. And some of these shelters in Texas had shown that a guy had went inside and he recorded the shelters and the dogs' living conditions were so bad. A lot of shelters are based off of donations or people can give them, so they just give what they can give. And I get they're playing their part trying to help, but some of those people who are so advocate for shelters and adopt, don't shop, and all this kind of stuff are some people who are supporting those habits. If people get to the point where they stop supporting these habits of people feel free and feel so easy to just drop a dog off because they know that a dog is going to be taking care of someone else. If you give that narrative away, that dogs are not just to be dropped off, then we can stop that change and stop having those issues and the problems. So before I get a dog, and this is me speaking honestly, before I buy a dog from someone, so before I buy a dog from someone, before I buy a dog from an adoption agency that I know nothing about, why that dog was bred, the purpose of that dog, or anything else, I am going to rather get a dog from someone who specializes in what they do, a specific breed for a specific temperament. When you get these mixed dogs and all this stuff, you don't know what you're getting. These dogs, there's a true thing about temperaments in a dog when you breed a dog. You get these dogs as mixed, and you know nothing about them. Those dogs tend to be a loose cannon. You don't know what you're going to get. Sometimes you get lucky, and sometimes you don't. But it's playing Russian roulette when you get a dog from a shelter, you know. So be very careful when you're talking about adopt, don't shop. I say you should shop and don't adopt. And I get I will say this here. I won't say do not adopt a dog or whatever. Just make sure you're very mindful of what you're doing when you're going to get a dog. Understand the purpose of this dog, and if you're doing it for you, then do it for you and be good for what it is that you're doing and leave it that way. It's not for anybody else. It's not for you to bash somebody else because someone else decided to buy a dog and I only paid $500 for my dog. I only got my dog for free and everything. That's fine. But most people I see are talking about breeders. They don't have a top quality dog. They don't, and breeders are people who are preserving the quality and the pureness of these dogs. Because if you don't have a breeder, how can you keep that purebred dog alive, continue going on and on and on for the future? You can't, because nobody else is going to do it. So, and this is my last thing about it, honestly. I know I said before, but the very last thing is this here. Stop talking about what somebody makes and being mad about. You're just using these dogs for your this and that. People have kids because some people have 10 kids, some people have 5 kids, some people have 3 kids. Some people are like, oh, you're only doing it because the government's giving you, man, like, stop. You don't know what someone is doing, why they are doing what they do. It's a business to some people. Some people it's a love. Some people it's a hobby. Some people it is a way of life. And some people have made a whole life living off of breeding dogs. Some people, not so much. But because someone is really good at what they do, and they give their dogs the love and the care, I bet you any money there are a lot of dogs out there in the world that would love to just come live with me than be out there being the only dog at someone's house or whatever. So don't think because somebody only got one dog, they give that dog more attention than somebody else who has plenty of dogs. It's not true. It takes money to get into these dogs. It takes money to show love and give these dogs the right care. It takes a lot of money for a lot of things. And when you do those kind of things the right way, you succeed the right way. To anybody out there who wants to just have dogs, love dogs, and be a part of it or whatever the case is, make sure you do your research on these dogs first. That's all I'm saying. Make sure you give your dogs love, give your dogs attention, give your dogs all and everything they need. But before you decided to get a dog, and I don't care whether it's from a breeder, from a shelter, or whatever the case is, make sure that you have the right intentions and you have the funds, the time, the love, availability for these dogs. Because some of the people are asking me like, hey man, I don't have the time really, Tony, but I really want a dog from you. And I've seen people talk about, yeah man, just go get the dog anyway. Like, no, if you know you do not have the time for these dogs, then stop buying these puppies because you want to make your fiance happy, or you want to make your kids happy, or you want to make your wife or husband happy, or whatever. Do your research and love these dogs the right way, so these dogs don't end up in the wrong hands and all this kind of stuff here. And educate yourself. And if you're one of those people that talk about adopt, don't shop, shut up. Shut up and go run someplace or whatever. And I mean that with everything in me. I don't care. Like, shut up. It sounds stupid. But anyway, you guys have a blessed day. Be good, man. That's my rant. I'm over with. You guys be good. Butler Kennel Rockwallers. Looking for a puppy? Give me a call. 843-670-3346. We are located in Texas, in Gatesville, Texas. I'm out.